At long last, we finally have word on when the next episode of South Park will be releasing. Although unexpected, the 24th season began with the hour-long pandemic special. This episode I very much enjoyed, which beautifully satirized the COVID-19 pandemic. Since the premiere of this episode, I personally felt the rest of the season would have followed much closer behind. The pandemic special released back in September, and here we are several months later with the announcement of the upcoming Vaccination special. On February 19th, the South Park social media pages announced the release of this special episode. This will supposedly continue the 24th season of the show. There was a 10-second teaser simply asserting the phrase, "We will be heard," not vocally, but heard as in a herd of cattle. That's right, herd immunity is coming to our beloved mountain town in an all-new hour-long episode. The special has been announced, set to air on Wednesday, March 10th on Comedy Central in the United States. I personally cannot wait to see how the vaccination concepts will be portrayed, where this will play a major role in the follow-up story to the pandemic special. Unfortunately, there is no current trailer with animation giving us any visuals of what is yet to come. However, that does not mean there aren't any more breadcrumbs to follow. There are several pieces of information currently divulged, of which we can of course speculate on. The social media handle chosen for the official South Park page has recently updated, along with this change being present across their minimal advertising, changing the spelling of South Park to South Park with a Q rather than a K is more prosodic in its meaning, also providing a small level of ambiguity about the episode. Currently, it seems fairly obvious that the letter Q is referring to the far-right political conspiracy theory under the name QAnon. This theory began on 4chan, where an anonymous source began posting cryptic messages from as early as 2017. This person shared information stating a cult was supposedly working against the then President of the United States, Donald Trump. These followers took an oath, standing together as a group and in turn with Trump against a greater evil. More than likely, they will stand against the vaccination in this episode, which we will cover in just a moment's time. Since the ending of the pandemic special saw our in-universe Donald Trump, Mr. Garrison, sharing his inept enthusiasm for the November election.
Big election coming up!
This is surely a hint of this story being brought forward. Since Trump's second impeachment trial also came to an end relatively recently, this may also be used as material for the episode. This change in spelling may also refer to what is known as a PAR-Q test. It is less likely in my honest opinion, but it refers to a physical activity readiness questionnaire. This is an assessment used to engage possible health and lifestyle issues, commonly taken prior to becoming involved with an exercise program. For certain characters, various lockdown conditions and time spent at home doing absolutely nothing would certainly mean a huge reduction in physical activity or exercise as a whole. Of course, I am referring to Eric Cartman. Faking his homeschooling, Cartman was certainly not ready to come back to South Park Elementary in the last installment.
Get back, 6 feet, ma'am! 6 fucking feet!
His story in the previous episode was one of my favorites, and as always, he exploited those around him for his selfish needs. Not wanting to go to school, he used COVID to his advantage as an excuse. I am sure there will likely be a segment within the episode dedicated to the children returning to school properly post-lockdown. More than likely, the South Park Police Department will still be standing in as the teachers, and obviously Cartman would not be pleased about the return to school, where his struggle would likely be explored once again. As much as a Cartman focus would be fun, I doubt this would be a key story point to avoid any kind of repetition from the previous episode. Simply acknowledging the struggle for the school children during this time would be more than enough to cover this angle. Reading the official press release for the upcoming special, we are given a hint towards the vaccination special's plot. The following quote is taken from an article written by Deadline stating, "The residents of South Park are clamoring for a COVID-19 vaccine. A hilarious new militant group attempts to stop the boys from getting their teacher vaccinated." The militant group is likely further reinforcement of QAnon being covered and in turn rejecting the vaccine. As we saw in the previous episode, the police department will likely still be standing in as teachers, and I think we can all understand why the children would prefer to get their teacher back in the classroom. If the character of Mrs. Nelson is a focus, I would be very surprised since this character has only really been a stand-in, separated from the legacy of the previous 4th grade teachers. Speculating once again, it sounds like the boys may be trying to get their teacher back in the classroom in order to avoid any further incidents caused by the police.
Oh, got him!
This would likely involve acquiring a vaccine for her so that it's safe for her to teach once again. As a long shot, this episode could even write Mrs. Nelson out of the current seasons, bringing back Mr. Garrison to teach the 4th grade, since the Trump stuff has clearly run its course. It would be an interesting surprise to see Mr. Garrison's story come full circle. More so, it would be even more surprising to see him return to the job without any consequences for his actions. Without forgetting the obvious, South Park's recent use of the word special usually involved Tegrity Farms. The last episode saw Randy's announcement of a pandemic special which was originally intended to be a blend of weed sold to purposefully make money, revealing how Randy Marsh caused the virus by having intercourse with a pangolin. He then combined the weed formula with his own semen. This created a vaccination which the town may very well be clamoring for, with one notable side effect. As I stated in my last South Park analysis video, the 24th season is still thankfully going ahead. Due to current world events, it is just different to how we expected. Since there are now 2 of these special episodes, I have a couple of theories in mind for how this season is going to progress going forward. Since the pandemic special is no longer just a one-off, there is a good chance these 2 episodes will either count to the total of the set season being 10 episodes, which therefore means we are still yet to receive another 8 relatively soon, or otherwise as an alternative, these episodes could count as their own entity, meaning we are still yet to receive season 24 in the fall when it is possible. For those of you wondering why South Park has been restructured like this, compared to the likes of other animated shows, I would highly recommend checking out the documentary 6 Days to Air. This documentary is extremely insightful, presenting the usual inner workings of the full production behind a South Park episode. Comparing this documentary to the behind-the-scenes video showing production of the pandemic special, this video in particular really delivered on stating how difficult this original project was, even for a one-off episode. Working from home, even just on the one extended episode, is difficult enough, especially when you're not around your familiar work environment and colleagues. Doing this for a full season would likely remove the magic behind what makes South Park so topical, making it somewhat impossible to achieve a complete episode within the space of less than 1 week. Anyhow, if you are interested in my pre-analysis of the pandemic special before the episode aired, I will leave a link to this video in the description. I was surprised at how many ideas were touched upon, making for an extremely memorable episode at that. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. I really do hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave me a like down below. Let me know in the comments, do you have any predictions for the upcoming South Park Vaccination special? And for more content, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, DVD Review Studios, for more upcoming videos.
Are you threatening me?